This is Fence Walker sitting down with David Diskin. And hello, David Diskin.
Hello, how are you?
We already started this interview. The camera busted up, so we get to start over. David Diskin, what is most important?
So when it comes to, I think, life in general, that's what we're talking about here. What's most important to me is that we see this as our one opportunity, our one chance, our one life to live, right? So many other people who are religious, they believe in some kind of afterlife. They believe that when they die, that this is just a blip on the radar, on the timeline, and that they're going to go on and live for eternity in heaven, Valhalla, somewhere else, wherever it is, and this is just a small piece of that. As an atheist, I don't believe in that. I believe that this is our one chance, our one lifetime, our one opportunity to make a difference, to help other people, to love and to live and to be fulfilled. And when I die and when you die and our friends and family die, that's the end of it. You know, and some people look at that as a negative way, but I see this as something positive. I see this as motivational for us to do the right thing, a reason for us to help other people, a reason for us to explore and to live.
We definitely should have picked a quieter place.
We should have. But a reason for us to explore and to live and to help and to be a part of a community. And I think that a lot of people who are counting on that afterlife, they're not seeing that the way that we do. They're not seeing this as our one and only shot at making a difference.
They do seem to abandon the environment in hopes that it won't be there after death.
Oh, absolutely. The environment is certainly a big part of that, but even just some of the ways that they treat other people.
Yes.
You know, the way that they treat people that aren't part of their clique, their community, their culture, their race, their gender, their country. And for the most part, the people that I know that are atheist and secular, we don't share those same views. We see everyone as unified, as one race, and certainly want to take care of the planet and the animals, I think much more than what the majority of the folks who are counting on that afterlife feel.
Okay, I think I had summarized it before as, what was it, you only live once?
You only live once.
Yeah, YOLO. So, asking this one again, what was the goal of Sunday Assembly Sacramento when you created it?
We started Sunday Assembly Sacramento, the planning for it, around, I want to say July, almost 2 years ago. And we had seen what was happening in other cities that had already started it. By that time, it was just getting started. I think it was in Oakland and a couple other cities in the United States, and certainly had been around in London for over a year. And I was watching that going, you know, at first, it sounds kind of weird and cheesy, like an atheist church, like who needs that? But when I saw the kinds of people that it was attracting, and when I talked to the leaders in the other cities that were making it happen, what they said, which really spoke to me, was that it was attracting people who weren't going to your standard atheist meetups, your skeptic events. They're not looking for that. And it turned out to be true. When we announced Sunday Assembly and we started to talk to people about coming, the people who are part of our community here in Sacramento, they're not normally the kind of people that go to the local atheist event or the local humanist event or the skeptics event or the secular event. You know, we've got all of that in Sacramento. We have an atheist group that celebrated their 20th anniversary not too long ago. The Humanist Association in America has been around for 75 years, and the local chapter for quite a while. And the people who come to us aren't going to those meetings, which means that we're picking up a community that has left church but still wants to go to something like that. Not to the point where they want to go to an atheist meeting and talk about the existence of God or talk about some humanist philosophy, but they want a community. They want to get together and bring their family and their children and meet other people and talk about giving back to the community, talk about volunteering, talk about just having a potluck and singing some songs and having a good time, being who they are without wearing that label of their faith or their worldview, and just celebrating life. And that's what we heard about Sunday Assembly, and when we founded it and started to deliver the organization and make it happen, it really came true. That's exactly what it is. And when you look down the list of all the people that RSVP, and you cross-reference that to the list of all the other people in all the other Sacramento groups, the overlap is maybe like 20-25%, which means that we're attracting a whole new audience into the secular community. People who were waiting for something like this, and now they found it.
Sometimes I do the question game where I'll answer my own question. I did that with the first one with Janet.
Yeah.
For me, I think my goal with Sunday Assembly is to connect with people who just aren't dominated by religion or some kind of code of beliefs, that are open-minded. And I found that to be very satisfying by going there. I very much enjoy being invited up from the audience to speak. I've done it every time.
Great, and we appreciate it. And that's one of the kind of the core pieces about Sunday Assembly, which speaks true, I think, really well to the non-religious aspect of our community, is that no one's really in charge. I mean, we have a board, but everyone's on equal footing. It's not anyone's agenda that we're trying to push. It's not this is what the priest says and everyone has to listen and follow and obey. This is not my interpretation of a holy book or a science book. It's just, someone wants to give a talk, they can give a talk. Someone wants to make an announcement, they can make an announcement. Our board of members our board of directors is a open thing. We just had our election just a couple months ago. Open books on the financials. You don't see that at churches most of the time.
Yeah. Okay, so question number 3. What is your background in religious belief?
Yeah. So I'm at a disadvantage here. I come from a secular household.
Really?
Yeah, entirely. So my mom self-identifies as a deist. That's, of course, the God that created and then walked away.
Yeah.
Let it happen.
I've heard that one.
Yeah. She believes in a higher power, but she doesn't pray. She doesn't participate in any religious activities. My dad was culturally Jewish, but again, at home, we never celebrated religion in any way. Never recognized it. We had Christmas, but it wasn't celebrating baby Jesus' birthday. It was just family and a lot of food and presents, right? We did Hanukkah once just to try it out. The only religious influence I had when I was young was from my aunt, my mom's sister, very religious. They even ran their own church, her and her husband, for some time. And under their insistence, we would go to church with them once or twice a year for Easter, maybe. And even as a kid, I remember thinking it was kind of silly, like Santa Claus level silly. We had a Bible in the house, but it was on the shelf. We never referenced. I think it was a wedding gift to my parents. And I flipped through it every now and then as a kid just to look at it, wondering what this book was about. And in my mind, it was right up there with, a book of fables or children's stories, Jack and the Beanstalk. And it wasn't until probably like 9th grade, 10th grade that I even really started to think about religion. I started to make friends who were going to church, and they would ask me to come to church.
You're answering my next question.
Oh.
So let me get to that.
Get to that then, sure.
When and why did you consider yourself a non-believer?
That is a perfect segue, yeah. So I didn't even know what non-believer or atheist or any of these terms were. I never thought about any of it. But around 10th grade, maybe 9th grade, my best friend at the time, Brian, at one point he said to me, He's religious, but he was never pushy about it. But he said to me, I'm really sad that, when I die, he's going to heaven and I'm not. And we talked about it for like 5 minutes, and that was the end of it. But he called me an atheist. Not in a bad way. He said, this is what you are. And I'd never heard that word before. So after that conversation, I went home and got out my dictionary and looked it up. And sure enough, that was me. And it was the first time that I ever even thought about it, gave it a thought at all. And it barely affected me throughout all high school. Even when I graduated, moved out, got my own place, that was in 1995, and about 14 years later, I started to really connect and identify and become involved with the secular movement. And that was because of a thing that happened in Lodi with city council prayers, invocations. Before that, I was just happy and content going to work, making money, playing on my PlayStation, and doing stuff on the computer. And in some weird, ironic way, the insistence of religious people to be able to pray at a city council meeting is what led me to become the activist and community organizer that I am. Because without that happening in Lodi, all of this about Sunday Assembly and Richard Dawkins and going to conferences and Camp Quest, that would have never been even on my radar if it hadn't have been because of what happened with the city council meetings.
So that was a huge turning point.
That was the biggest catalyst in my life, absolutely.
Okay.
Except for maybe being born.
That is what I was looking for. Now, I understand the phrase radically inclusive is not specific to Sacramento. It's a national thing.
It's an international thing.
International thing. So I learned that last time. My question to her was, where did you get this phrase? So why don't I rephrase that and tell me what you think that phrase means to you?
Yeah. For me, and just for your viewers' background, Sunday Assembly considers itself to be radically inclusive in terms of who's invited. What that means for me, and I think for the organization, is that anyone can come. It's easy to think of that as race, gender, religion, social economic status, and all that is true. We don't care how rich or poor you are, how you self-identify as a gender or not, or what race you are. We certainly don't care what religion you are. Anyone's welcome to come. What it means for us, that those of us who are putting on the program, which is really, kind of where rubber meets the ground, so to speak. When we talk to potential speakers about giving a talk at Sunday Assembly, when we figure out what songs we're going to listen to or what videos to show the audience, we look at that through the lens of, is this going to work for everybody? Not can we do it without offending anyone, because that's an impossible goal. But for our audience, knowing that people can be there from any religious background, any economic background, any racial background, can we provide content that will make them feel welcome, that will make them feel like they're a part of the community, and it goes on beyond that. I mean, we try and be as overly welcoming as we can within our capabilities to people who might have disabilities, to people who can't even get a ride there sometimes. We try and find people to give them a lift. So when
myself included.
Yes. So when we say we're radically inclusive, I think it's sort of a counter-statement to so many of the organizations that are out there, and I don't just mean churches, because there's obviously that. There's churches that won't they'll say you can come and join, but they really won't. We want people to feel welcome. It's not just you're welcome to come in and sit there, but you're welcome to participate. You're welcome to take part in our leadership. You're welcome to help us find new speakers or be a speaker. what it comes down to is that no matter who you are, what you believe, whether you're Christian or not, whether you're atheist or not, gay, straight, transgender, it doesn't matter. We want everyone to know that they can have fun and make friends at Sunday Assembly.
For the record, I've already spoken that I've spoken at everything, at every meeting I've gone to. I am also involved in getting a speaker. I believe Janet just emailed you that. So yeah, I like being able to participate. I'm not quite as radically inclusive. I prefer someone have a reason for asking me to believe something. You know, if they can't explain why, then I have no reason to listen to them. And I find that a lot with people who consider themselves conservative. Not necessarily religious, but conservative.
Right.
And that's part of something I wanted to discuss on this show, which I was going to talk more about after the interview. So we only got a couple more questions left. Hopefully I'll remember to bring that up.
Yeah.
Okay, as I said, I've spoken in front of the group several times. Do you recall giving me a demonstration on how to count in binary on your hand?
Did I do
could
that?
you count to 5 on one hand in binary?
Was that me? Or was that you doing this?
I was doing
You
that.
were the one that gave the demonstration.
Yes.
Yeah, well, if this represents on, you're going to make me flip the camera off. Is that what you're trying to
No, the camera's on you.
So if this is 1, then this would...
Nope, that's not 1.
Well, it just depends on which hand you use, but...
We start off with 5 digits. The thumb is the lowest significant figure, so
See,
this is
count,
0.
I count, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
This is 1.
That's 1. That would be 2. This is 3. This would be 4, which I'm not going to do.
4 is that,
right.
and 5 is that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were paying attention.
Well, I was, but I also know a lot about computers, and I teach binary to my students. Just not with my fingers.
But most computer nerds won't flip you off to count to 5. Okay. The last one is very important to me.
Sure.
Being a brain tumor survivor, I consider myself a superhero, that being my only superpower.
Right.
And it comes with a lot of problems. I'm working on that with other people.
Yeah.
So if you were a superhero, what would your name be and what would your powers be?
Maybe I should have asked for this in advance. What would my name be? Oh my gosh, I don't even know.
Well, go with your superpower. It's usually easier to name yourself.
You're right, I should come up with my superpower first. There's so many cool things. You know, I love the show Heroes.
Yeah.
It's sci-fi, and they have so many different things there. Remember Skylar's?
Yeah, was he the guy sucking all the people's powers?
He was the one that took away other people's powers. Now, the way that he went about it, unfortunately, led to their demise.
Yes.
But what I love about that power is that he was able to amass more power, right?
It's the American dream.
It's the American dream. Now, I would use it for good. I would hope I would. But it's kind of like, you know, it's that joke or whatever about, you know, you give someone 3 wishes, one of those wishes should be for more wishes, right? And so that's how logical I guess I am.
Yeah.
It's like if I had the superpower, I would have the superpower where I could take other people's, or borrow or clone other people's superpowers. But if that's not a real answer, just like wishing for 3 wishes isn't, I think I would really love to be able to just manipulate objects or space and time. You know, I'm thinking of like all the different ways that could go to help people. I get a lot of my influences from Gene Roddenberry and Star Trek. You know, and in that universe, he has done away with currency, in effect.
Yes.
You know, there's jobs, but they don't work for money. They work for the pleasure of it, or to help society. And you know, if I could manipulate like an alchemist in some sense. If I could manipulate space and time and
You
create...
realize you can manipulate this straw.
Exactly. If I could turn that straw into $1 million and hand it out to people, or cure someone's brain disorder, injury, how cool would that be? You know, it doesn't even have to be I'm going to save the world, but to take one person and fix their ailment or save someone from a burning car or something like that, that would give me so much joy, I think, and I think be a positive influence in the world, I would hope. What that translates to in terms of my name, well, it has to be badass, because you can't have a superhero with a weak name. But I don't know. I'm at a loss for that one. What do you recommend?
I would have to think about that one. We have to narrow down your power some.
Oh really?
Yeah,
Okay.
because being generally helpful is kind of what a hero does.
That's true. Yeah, you're on a good point.
So maybe you would be generic superhero.
Generic superhero. I'm Acme. That's my name. Acme.
Acne? Okay. You're the pinnacle.
Maybe.
Okay. So that basically concludes my interview. It was just short and sweet.
Yeah, that was. It was fun.
You gave longer answers than Janet, but I want to leave it open. Now, I wish I could turn off the camera and rewind and figure out what I was talking about before, but about this internet show I want to do.
Yeah.
Through either SAS and or Reason Center, wherever it wants to be held. I just want to ask people questions like I just asked you.
Right.
But I would like it to be more focused around, let's say we're going to create a new society. What would the rules be? Let's be the founding forefathers, whatever they are.
Right.
And say, well, okay, we don't need to say that women have equal rights, because that's an assumption. But we want to include that in our rules.
Sure, I would say we definitely want to include it.
Yeah.
And I think sad as it is, it does need to be stated. I think one of the problems that we have right now with the Constitution, as great as the document as it is it's still left too much room for interpretation. And we're seeing the results of that. Even with something as you would think benign as whose job it is to elect the Supreme Court, right? And now you have this battle because it's apparently vague to some people how that's supposed to happen. Now, how you can foresee all the little things that are going to be taken either for granted or misinterpreted, I don't know how you would do that, but I would argue that you need to get some really good wordsmiths and lawyers, and that needs to be the backbone of whatever this document is, like what happened in the Constitution, but on a bigger level. And I agree. I think equality and spelled out what that means, I think that would be line number one.
Now, to me, when I answer my first question about what's most important, to me is freedom. And I would define it, responsible freedom, as doing whatever you want as long as it doesn't take away anyone else's freedom.
I think that's fair. Do whatever you want. Take away their freedom or hurt them in some way.
Yeah, and I would tack on without their permission.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I can order you to tie my shoes, or I can ask you to tie my shoes, or I could pay you to tie my shoes.
Right.
There are different levels of freedom there.
Right.
So, but if you expect me to believe that, people should not lie down with men or beasts or whatever the words are, I want to look at the reasoning behind it.
Right.
Turns out the story of Lot, the only one who survives that story is Lot. So he can make up any shit he wants. Not only that, but who knows what kind of hashish or whatever he may have been on or addicted to. He
Right.
could have been rambling, ranting, and raving. The guy just got out of a sandstorm.
Right.
He can tell any story he wants.
And that's if he ever existed in the first place.
Yes. And I found religion to be more a primitive way of controlling the population.
Sure.
Now, you
I think
shouldn't
there's more to it than that, but that is certainly a big part of it.
you shouldn't eat meat on Fridays because they didn't have refrigerators back then. They cut up all their meat on Monday, sold it all week, and by Friday it was bad.
Right.
You know, you don't eat pork and shellfish because they haven't discovered germ warfare yet.
Exactly.
You know, a lot of these things can make sense depending on what point of view you take. But if you want to take the view where I'm going to use this as a weapon to control people, then that's where I disagree with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree with you completely on that.
Now, not only do I disagree with science or with religion, but also science in many aspects. They've been telling us for about 100 years, ever since Hubble discovered it, that the universe is expanding and accelerating.
Right.
But I believe that's based off of a misinterpretation of his graph, because it shows the stars moving faster the farther out they go. Well, the farther out you go, the older that image is.
Okay.
So the farther out you go, the farther back in time you go. The farther back in time you go, the faster the stars are.
I'm not an astrophysicist, but I think the rationale there is that when we measure the signals that are coming.
I've got a chart. I'll bring it in one of these times.
I don't know that it would help on me because I don't claim to know or understand a lot of that. I think the idea is that when we measure the rates of change between what we observe over time.
Yes, over time. That's the key point.
Right.
They're doing it over distance.
Okay.
Acceleration is change in velocity over time, but their graph is change in velocity over distance.
Okay, man, I don't know.
Yeah.
It makes sense to me, though. I think that as we move further apart from each other, we have less of as if I'm a galaxy, less gravitational hold. But I don't know. I really don't.
Well, if I wasn't sick on Valentine's Day, I would have taught the audience some basics about electromagnetism, electricity and magnetism. And it actually spawned off of one of my friends who's also an atheist. He's a junior high school teacher, chemistry. And he majored in physics, so he knew what I was talking about with this electromagnetism. But I had to explain it to him 3 times before he figured out what I was saying.
Yeah.
Because he had brought up this thing about core education or something core.
Common Core.
Common Core. Where there's a difference between teaching you what to think versus teaching you how to think.
Right.
And just from his description of that, I came up with this electromagnetism demo.
Okay.
But I'll save that for next time.
Okay.
Are there any questions you have for me?
You know, we haven't really had a chance to talk much.
No, we haven't.
Friend to friend. We've always been talking about Sunday Assembly. I'm just curious about you and your life. Like, I don't really know much at all about you. You show up at Sunday Assembly, and we'd love to have you there and you help out. But I'm not sure. I know you've got this background, I think, in engineering. But I don't know what your career is or was, or I certainly don't know much about what happened to you with your injury. And if you're comfortable with that, I'd love to find out.
If you want, we can even turn this around. Here, you be the interviewer.
I'll be the interviewer. So tell me.
Okay.
Tell me about your life.
Born November 20th, 69. I'm assuming I was a premature baby. My mother described me as the only tan baby amongst the group. I noticed having headaches early on when I was a very young child.
So this isn't a new thing.
Huh?
The brain injury that you've got, it's just not a new thing. This is.
Well, I haven't gotten to that. We haven't discovered it in my life yet. That was on the summer of my 21st, before my 21st birthday.
Oh wow.
So, as a child, I had been getting sick. I had my tonsils ripped out, a few other things, and my head still hurt after I was done being sick. I said, "Mommy, my head still hurts." And she put her forehead up to my, or forearm up to my head. And you don't detect heat on a migraine. You get that from viral infections and whatnot.
Right.
So she says, "You're just trying to play hooky and stay home from school again." So I decided this must be my new normal. And I've heard this countless times from this site a friend of mine started. She has endometriosis. It's a vicious woman's disease. I can tell you more about it later. But they also have symptoms starting when they were young, and they only get worse. There's no cure for it. For me, I had the double vision. You can't really see it anymore. But this eye used to look way off to the left.
Okay.
They cut the muscles, moved the eye over, and it healed back a little bit further than they wanted to. And that's what I considered my bad eye. It slightly sees less good as this one. So 25 years later, I decide, well, okay, I'll let them mess with my good eye. Because they did give me the option of operating on both eyes. I said, no, let's just stick with the one eye for now. So the woman who did the surgery, she actually just called me up to follow up on me last night. They did the same on this. It's called a strabismus surgery. Now, I can get things down to one image, but it takes a little bit of focus. And there's actually an up-down difference. My eye feels sore up here, and my face feels sore down here after I've been trying to get the images to go together. I suffer from migraines, constipation, insomnia. I'm deaf in my right ear, constant tinnitus. I sometimes have to shout over it just to hear myself.
Wow.
It affects the sleep, it affects everything. I remember taking a personality test at one of my job sites. I was able to work for 3.5 years or so after getting a degree in electrical electronic engineering with a minor in physics. The test told me I had a creative personality. I'm like, okay, well that sounds flattering. Well, when you look it up, it says we accept anger and we're very blunt. We overuse bluntness. And I asked my friends, and they're like, ding, 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 ding. And it's something that I realized in talking with the endo girls, the heroes that I've been calling them. We do tend to be blunt because we're in a lot of pain, and the more we have to sit there and think about something, the more opportunity we have to sit there and think about our pain.
Right.
And that's not good.
Yeah.
And I guess I'll fast forward a few years. I'm 46 now. I've been using medical marijuana for the past 6 years. Prior to that, I'd never tried it. I believed all the negative hype. I thought, if I'm going to pay for pot, that means I'm financially supporting the criminal underground. And I believed it was a gateway drug and all that kind of crap. Now I believe it's a gateway out of other drugs. I could easily see it as being a therapy to get off the harder stuff and to get off the prescriptions.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The prescriptions, they tried 10 years of different prescriptions. The strongest was Vicodin. We got it up to 2 pills being the standard dose, and my last couple pills, I said, this isn't working, and I actually tried either 2.5 and 3 pills the last time, and you don't want to do that. It makes you sick.
Well, you get addicted to it.
Well, yeah, but I had no reason to be addicted to it because it wasn't helping, it was only hurting. It was only making the constipation worse. I now have a CPAP machine.
Oh, yeah.
which is constant positive airway pressure.
Right.
What I need is a BiPAP, which releases the pressure when you exhale.
Yeah.
Because right now when I try to breathe out, it doesn't let the air out and I end up breathing in my old air.
Okay.
And something I know about, since I have no teeth, it's like pulling teeth. Trying to get these frickin' doctors to pay attention to me.
Yeah.
It took me a year just to get the sleep study done. I did the sleep study and they said, well, it looks like you qualified to try the CPAP here at the test. I said, well, why didn't you give it to me? And they said, well, it was too late in the evening. We'll give it to you next time. So I go, okay. So now I got to make another appointment, and the next appointment wasn't available for 3 months.
Oh my gosh.
And their determining factor on whether they give you the CPAP is whether the data is less than 3 months old.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't let me use the CPAP the second time around. And I was just in such a panic attack that I said, no, get me the hell out of here, I can't be here. And so we did a home test. On a score of 5 or higher, they give you the machine. I scored 17.5 or something.
Okay.
So I got a machine. I ended up having bed bugs. I had to get rid of the machine. Now I got this new machine which doesn't let me exhale. And again, trying to get a damn doctor to make an appointment with me. The previous sleep doctor, he charged me $25 a session. I went in there twice to talk to him about his class.
Yeah.
All he did was say, come to my class 3 days a week at $25 a pop. So I've already sunk $50 into him.
Right.
Now all I did was pay for him to advertise his class. And I know I'm not the only one that gets ignored or neglected from their doctors.
Right.
The majority of the endo women out there, we're all told it's in our head. Or a lot of them are told, well, you just need to have a baby, or you just need to have a hysterectomy. Neither one of those really work.
Right.
But people try them. They try partial hysterectomies, which are absurd. They should get rid of all of it if they get rid of any of it. And technically, it's not considered cancer.
Right.
It spreads like cancer. It damages organs like cancer. But something I discovered with the brain tumor support group is that brain tumors are not considered cancer.
Okay.
And I asked them that question, why don't they use the C word?
Yeah.
Well, they told me, I think the PC version is that, well, we don't want brain tumor people thinking, oh, well, it's cancer on top of a brain tumor. It doesn't really matter. What matters is funding for cancer.
Yeah. Yeah.
If we don't consider endo cancer, it doesn't get cancer funding.
Huh.
And brain tumors are really fucking expensive.
Sure.
So they don't get cancer funding either. That's my paranoid theory.
Well, you might be onto something. I mean, one thing that I'm certainly an advocate for is open payer healthcare and medical research, and I don't.
So you're feeling the burn?
Well, I'm representing a nonprofit, so I can't say that.
Oh, okay.
But I definitely would like to see us move towards open payer healthcare and reducing medical costs, eliminating co-pays. I mean, and putting more all the money that we're effectively wasting on billing administration and all the things that you went through. That was just really just a waste of your time and the doctor's time and the assistant's time. I mean, we could put a lot of that towards and in commercials and advertising and marketing. We could put that towards research instead, or lower
at least awareness. That's all the endo girls are hoping for is awareness. Got to get this shit out there because they're seeing 1 in 10 women having this.
Wow.
And it is crippling. There is no other word to describe it. It is crippling. So, any other questions you have for me?
No, but I appreciate that. It's good to get to know you a little bit more.
Yeah.
I wish I could do this with everyone that comes to Sunday Assembly.
Well, and that's kind of my goal with this show. 2 months ago, when I posted a small video, there were a couple of what do you call them, parishioners, congregants?
Oh, congregants, yes.
Congregants.
Or attendees.
Yeah, attendees, who actually came up to me and said, I saw your video, I really like what you had to say, and you know, what I want to do is pull out of them, extract from them their story.
Yeah.
I want to get their story on camera. And I sort of got into it with one gal who's a teacher, and I go, okay, well, you don't really want to get too much into it, because that's really other people's problems.
Yeah.
But one gal to me, Vicky is her name, I hope she doesn't mind me saying her name, she came up to me and said, there's nothing absolutely special about me at all. I said, well, then you are my target audience. Because I have no comparison to what is normal.
Sure.
You know, and I always thought I was normal, and I am completely far from normal. So that's my goal, is to interview as many people as possible and get this Zootopia thing started.
Yeah.
I want to define freedom. That's actually my rule number 2. Rule number 1, I think we all have to accept that there are exceptions to every rule, including rule number 1, which is why I make it rule number 1. And those are really my only 2 rules, although someone had brought up crime and punishment, and one little wordism I've come up with for that is no incarceration without rehabilitation.
Sure.
And there were some people, I forget what the program was called, Excel or Advance, Ascend, something.
Yeah, you were talking about the speaker that we had a couple months ago. I think it was Ascend, but I'm not positive.
Yeah, it was about people getting out of prison or jail,
right,
and trying to get their life started.
Right.
Well, I think while they're in jail, we should give them an opportunity to educate themselves, develop skills,
right,
that they can be productive citizens when they're out.
Yeah.
You know, otherwise we're just punishing them. And to me, that's cruel and unusual punishment. Any punishment is cruel and unusual.
Right.
So, you know, my ears perked up a lot when they were there talking about their issues.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I need to pull them in.
It sounds like they've got a really great program too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I'm glad you're doing this, and I don't know how exactly this is all going to tie into Sunday Assembly, but yeah, I'm looking for ways to explore that. And if not Sunday Assembly, then, like I said, there's so many other local groups.
Yeah, or just start up my own group. It could be as easy as that.
Yeah.
Now I saw John Donovan start something up, and I don't know if it's through SAS or through the Reason Center, or...
Remind me what you saw.
He just wants to discuss things that people want to talk about, which is exactly what I want to do on camera.
No, that's specific to Sunday Assembly. We're getting together over pizza just to talk with our members and find out what they want to see with Sunday Assembly in terms of volunteer opportunities, maybe get some ideas for speakers down the road, kind of encourage people to help out a little bit more, give them a chance to talk to the board. And so when he was saying, you know, find out...
All right, I need to turn the camera back on you.
Sure. When he was saying find out more about what's on their mind, he was specifically talking about the direction of Sunday Assembly and where people want to see that go.
Now, if I had answered my own question about Sunday Assembly and the Reason Center, to be honest, when I first heard of the Reason Center, I had probably just got done watching Harold and Kumar go to White Castle or something. So my image was this castle with a moat around it, you know, where nothing unreasonable crosses the moat.
Sure.
You know, and that was just my fantasy thing. And I wasn't disappointed, but I mean, it's a, what would you call it, a business park or something? Or?
It is. It's an industrial business park. We're in the same unit as an exercise weightlifting place and a car mechanic and a security place and a medical instrument place.
So it's humble beginnings.
It is. It's absolutely. But what's great about it, humble as it is it was a vision for the Sacramento community over a decade ago, and it took us a long time to get it. And I'm glad that we finally did, because it was perfect timing with Sunday Assembly. The two opened up together. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that, I can't say that Sunday Assembly was a catalyst for it, but the timing was perfect.
Yeah.
And so I'm really glad that we have that. People we just had a wedding there. We had a wedding at the Reason Center. And of course, Sunday Assembly is there. We've had birthday parties there. Today, in fact, maybe even right now, they're showing a movie there. The Black Humanists and Non-Believers. It's been able to bring together the Sacramento non-religious community, having our own place. It's saved us money from not having to go out to local libraries or other kinds of venues that would have charged us, hundreds, $200, $800 a day. So it's been really great, and at the same time, it's something that we also need to support as well. Just like Sunday Assembly needs donations and Camp Quest needs donations, so does the Reason Center.
And I think that this talk show thing might actually bring some things in. Are you familiar with Jacqueline Glenn?
Yes.
She talks about something called a Patreon. I don't know anything about it. I'm not sure I even want to research it. I just want to do the show.
Yeah.
But as far as connecting with SAS or the Reason Center or both, that's probably my primary interest in getting involved with the board of trustees with you guys. But I do like that you're open to my ideas about getting understudies and whatnot.
Yeah.
Did they do any more on that?
Not yet. We haven't.
Okay.
Our meetings the last couple of days or the last couple of times have just been like, all right, what's next on the plate? Let's get it out, because we had the wedding last time, so we had the fastest meeting we possibly could because we needed to get out of there so we can set up the whole place for a wedding.
And a part of me wants that board of trustees meeting to be held during Sunday Assembly.
Yeah, I just don't think it's very exciting.
I don't know if that's feasible.
It's not exciting. So we have it right after, as you know.
Yeah.
To have it during the service, I think we would bore a lot of people because we're
and on that aspect, we could liven it up.
I don't know how exciting a treasurer's report can be.
That to me is me just completely overriding everything you guys got established, and that is really uncool.
It's not that. No, it's not uncool.
So
it's not uncool. It's just a matter of trying to figure out. And we're always looking for suggestions.
Well, see, I think with this internet show, I can do my thing and you guys can do your thing, and whenever we can, cross paths, let's do that.
Yeah. But if you can tell me a way to make running over the minutes and doing treasury reports more exciting, I'm all for it. Maybe we take graphs and we put cats on them.
Yeah, I don't know. But I think getting understudies would be a good step in that direction.
Yeah.
One other question I thought of just now. What does David Diskin do for fun?
As funny as it sounds, this is fun. This is what gets me
I
excited.
enjoy this too.
Yeah, I mean, it's a non-profit volunteer thing, but I love doing it. I love connecting with people. I love hosting events and making a change. And everything that I do, whether it's helping kids at Camp Quest or driving the secular community to get behind an effort like vaccines.
But you don't ever have a beer with your old high school buddies and you hang out and play pool or anything?
Not so much nowadays. Now I hang out with my secular buddies and we get together about changing the world, and that's way more fun.
I just found out that two people in my life are also atheist, agnostic, whatever.
Yeah?
I'd suspected one, and I didn't think I was going to see her too often, but I might see her again.
Yeah.
The other one I've seen often, and I'm like, wow, we can now chat on an entirely different level now.
Right. Isn't that neat?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's happened to me too. Several friends I went to high school with that I hadn't talked to in a long time, but because of Facebook, you connect, you reconnect, and you see what they're posting, or you post something and they comment on it. And it turns out that a lot of my friends in high school were also atheists, but we just never talked about it. We never brought it up, probably because we thought we were the only ones.
Yeah, there is the persecution factor as well.
Absolutely. And that's why I think it's important We haven't mentioned it yet, but the Secular Student Alliance.
Secular what?
Secular Student Alliance.
Okay.
Secular students, they help form clubs or chapters, affiliates in high schools and colleges. So here in Sacramento, there's 4 campuses that each have a Secular Student Alliance. There's a high school out in Elk Grove that has one, and there's over 500 of them throughout the United States. And one of the main purposes is to unite students, whether it's the high school or college level, so that they don't feel like they're the only one. I would have loved to have had that when I was in high school. That would have been so much of a life changer, I think, for me, or accelerated things so much faster.
I did answer the question about when I found out that I was agnostic or whatever the word was,
Right.
but that's on the tape with Janet, so I'll let you watch that.
Yeah, definitely.
So you can watch that now. You won't have a preview of all the questions.
Right.
So I am completely open to doing this again on any topic. If you want to initiate it, that's fine. If I initiate it, I hope you're available sometime.
Yeah.
I mostly want to open it to the public at large, though.
Yeah.
Especially the congregants, as we're going to call them.
Sure.
I am really disappointed in religion, in government, in institutions. The word I found that I really liked was iconoclast.
Okay.
Just anything that represents something else, I don't like it.
Sure.
Anti-authoritarianism or something.
Right.
But anyways, I'm getting sick of hearing my own voice now. So anything else you'd like to add before I close the thing?
I would just say, if anyone wants to learn more about what's happening in Sacramento, they should check out Sacramento Core, C-O-R, sacramentocore.org, and that provides a portal to all of the different organizations in Sacramento, Sunday Assembly and the Atheists and Other Free Thinkers, the Secular Student Alliance affiliates, and about a dozen other groups, including the Reason Center. And if you're not from Sacramento, just go to United Core, unitedcor.org, and you can find local groups of your own to connect with.
Would that be an appropriate place to post this interview?
The websites don't really have like an outlet for that, but I imagined if you send me the link, I can start to promote it.
Well, I was going to put it up on the SAS website.
Absolutely, yeah.
Meetup.com.
Yeah, please do. And make sure I see it. Just send it to a link on Facebook, and I'll do what I can to promote it.
Yeah, I'll send you links to this and to Janet's interview and maybe some other things.
Yeah.
I have made a few other videos on medical cannabis, how I use it, how it affects me. It's an hour and a half long. It needs to be edited, but you know, I'm an amateur, so I think I did a pretty decent job. And there are a few other things. Another aspect of the talk show would be to maybe record a question like what's most important, and then allow other people to record their response, and we can have video conversations like that.
Sure, where you can stitch them all together.
Yeah.
Really fun.
And we might need to hook up with Facebook and YouTube and, you know, big companies to get that arranged.
Yeah, yeah.
So I look forward to more of that.
That'd be really cool. Well, thank you so much for the interview. It was really fun. Hope it wasn't too noisy for the listeners.
Yeah, I'll find out when I get home, but the camera's usually been pretty good, but I haven't been in this noisy of an environment before.
Right, right. Cool.
All right, well, thanks
so
again,
much.
David Diskin.
Absolutely, thank you.